Hello and welcome back to Card Kingdom's Rags and the Riches 3, The Last Crusade, but not the last Pauper Tournament. We're live here at Card Kingdom's Top 8, giving you live coverage of what's going on here. We just got our Top 8 figured out, and it is in this order. You ready?
Yep.
We got in first place John Barber playing Tron. In second place we have Antonio Calderon playing Jeskai. In third place we have Aleko Pores playing the Freed from the Real combo deck. In fourth place we have Daniel Hull playing Blue-Black Delver. In fifth place we have Alex Drake playing Kodotha Jeskai. In sixth place we have Trig, what was Trig's last name? I forgot to write it down. Monson. Trig Monson playing Mono Black Control. In seventh place we have Patrick Lalonde playing Elves. And in eighth place we have Sam Nelson playing Mono Blue Control. So for this first round we're going to watch the third and sixth seed. That's Aleko Pores playing Freed from the Real versus sixth place Trig Monson playing Mono Black Control. We're going to head down to that match now, and for those of you just turning in, this is the top 8 of a 7-round, 72-person cut to top 8 Pauper event. I'm Josh Monks, joined in the booth by Sean Yu. We're going to get this match started, though. Go ahead and tell them they can start, and we're live. So Aleko being on the play, or being in the third seed, is going to be on the play. Going to start out with a Preordain here. So how this deck works is Freed from the Real. It's an aura that you can put on a creature, and the big one that it gives a ton of effects, but the big one is it gives blue to untap that creature. So what this deck does is it attempts to get a Fertile Ground onto a land, turn that land into a creature, and then generate infinite mana by putting Freed from the Real on it, tapping it for 2, untapping it for 1. Once it has infinite mana, there's so many different ways it can win the game. But at this point, we've got a Fertile Ground on the island, so Aleko is 2 cards away from winning the game at this point.
It's pretty scary fast.
Yes, absolutely. It's very powerful versus Mono Black Control deck as well, because Mono Black doesn't have a ton of tools to interact. Pretty much only have instant speed removal spells, and this Freed from the Real deck has 3 Giga Drows as main deck, ready and prepared to tap down the Mono Black Control player on their end step. The Freed from the Real player can then untap and combo off on their turn during their main phase.
Let's take a look at what Trig has in terms of disruption. So the ways to disrupt this deck are either discard or you have instant speed removal for the Wind Dendicon, which I believe makes land a 2/2 flying
2/2
creature.
flyer, yes. There's also Lifespark Spellbomb, which is a spellbomb that when you sacrifice it to, you can turn one of your lands into a 3/3 green beast creature until end of turn, I believe. I believe it's beast, not 100% on that.
So he's got a variety of instant speed removal. It's going to be less effective when the Freed from the Real player gets a Giga Drows down.
I believe he has Giga Drows in hand too.
Oh, that's
Aleko,
pretty terrific.
Gonna fire off a Ponder, finds his actual win condition, which is Valakut Invoker, which is a 3-mana creature that for 8 mana you can Lightning Bolt something. You can activate it as many times as you want per turn, so of course you activate it a whole lot in the turn you're going off when you have infinite mana.
When you have an infinite mana, that is quite a clock.
Absolutely.
Trig can, however, get 2 Kumbaj witches down. That might be able to lock him out of getting killed.
Very true.
That is a little bit slow to disrupt a deck that can go off as soon as turn 2.
This deck, the earliest it can win is turn 4, and me and Aleko were actually talking about this deck a little bit and realized that the addition of Elvish Spirit Guide can actually increase the velocity of the deck by an entire turn and set you up to go off on turn 3 with just 1, assuming you have the perfect hand, obviously.
That was a Simic...
Simic Growth Chamber played last turn, is a bounce land, bounced a forest that he then played this turn.
I believe Aleko did not drop a match the entire day, so...
Yeah, he was EXO in 2 at the end, and he hadn't lost a game until round 5.
That was quite impressive.
Round 4, sorry, when we had him on camera.
Yeah, see right here, third place, 65.6% opponent match win. Second tiebreaker's game wins, he was 76.2%, so quite impressive.
Pretty much locked in to his position in the top 8.
So yeah, there are no easy matches in the top 8 though, so we'll see how this goes. Bajuka Bog targeting Aleko Pores with the trigger, and he's going to end step.
We're going to see a Giga Drows for all 3 lands, going to tap out Trig, and then untap, and I'm pretty sure Aleko has the win here. I believe he found a Freed from the Real off the first Preordain. So he's got just enough mana, is that correct? I believe he's got 4 mana, which is just enough, unless I did the math wrong.
He also has a land drop still available, so...
Very true.
Quite a few options here.
So here comes the Wind Zendikon, suiting up. He's got a green mana floating. So this is now a 2/2 flying elemental creature that can tap for a blue, and whenever it's tapped for mana, generate an additional mana.
Yeah, it looks like Aleko is explaining that loop to Trig right now, and it's going to show him the...
Freed from the Real costs 3 mana, so he's got 1 mana in his pool. He's now going to use 1 mana to untap. generate infinite mana because he's able to tap it for 2, untap. Once he's generated infinite mana, it's very, very easy to play the Valakut Invoker and just bolt his opponent enough times to kill. And that's what we saw. And you know what? This deck is insanely powerful.
It is insanely powerful. Aleko's the only player in this tournament on the deck, and he made the top 8, 3rd seed, has not dropped a match yet. So this is the most impressive deck.
This is the winningest deck, right?
Yeah, it's arguably there's a lot of reason to believe this is the best deck in the format right now. Certainly it's putting up quite a show here at the Rags to Riches 3.
Absolutely. And so since our most recent Rags to Riches tournament, which was about a month ago, we saw a huge ban happen, which was Cloud of Fairies. That was a staple in so many decks, including the prevalent combo deck, which was Esper Familiars. And now that Esper Familiars is out of the format, I feel like this Freed from the Real deck is just so powerful.
Yeah. What do you think of the banning of Cloud of Fairies?
So I think I understand where they're coming from. They haven't really felt the need to shake up this format too much. And I don't think that the format necessarily needed the card to be banned because it didn't feel like the Esper Familiars deck was too oppressive or too powerful because all of the decks had very powerful ways to interact with it. Even the Mono Black Control deck has so many tools. Because of course, when you're comboing off with Cloud of Fairies, you need the creatures in play. So
yeah,
certainly one way to attack it.
Interestingly enough, a lot of the decks that use Cloud of Fairies, this was not just limited to Esper Familiars. In our first tournament, we had High Tide still legal, which is not something that is available on Magic Online, but for the purpose of this paper tournament, it was legal. High Tide was extremely dominant, so was Blue Red Delver. Both decks use Cloud of Fairies to quite powerful effects,
Absolutely.
as did Esper Familiar.
Absolutely.
So it's arguably one of the best cards. What was that? And we have some information from the booth that in the 1 versus 8 match, I believe the Tron player won on turn 3.
I didn't read the note. I didn't read it in time, and then Casey deleted it, and then won't tell me what it says. But we're going to shuffle it up for game 2
give
here.
you an update as that comes.
Aleko finished that game off very, very quickly, and this deck, honestly, it feels way more powerful than the Esper Familiars deck. It's able to go off so much early. Oh, gotcha. So apparently what happened is John natural Tron'd on turn 3. Able to generate 7 mana. I probably played a 6-drop. I imagine 6-drop into the sphere. I guess it could be 7 actually if you played it earlier.
And that's how you take the number 1 seed.
Yeah, that's why you
Sweet
deserve the
draws
number
like
1
that.
seed. Yeah.
But to his credit, he had a battle winning in round 7, and now that he succeeded with that, he does deserve to be on the play.
Absolutely, yeah. John, he was the only X1 that did not get to draw into top 8. He had to play.
Yep.
So these guys are getting set up for game 2. Trig is going to be on the play with this Mono Black Control deck. And I feel like this deck does have the tools to beat the Freed from the Real deck, but it's definitely not favored.
So what are the options it has available out of the sideboard? I think you really like the 4 Duress. This is a combo deck that can tap you out, so you need a proactive way.
Yeah, I feel like the 4 Duress and 3 Wrenchmind are definitely coming in. I could also see a case for Pestilence, just because it's something you can play proactively and then your opponent has to deal with.
Yeah, although you do need to...
I guess you need a lot of mana for that, so maybe that's not worth it.
What about the Choking Sands?
I think Choking Sands is okay on the play. I might board it in if I can find enough things to board out, but on the draw, I think it's just too slow.
Yeah. Something like, I'm not sure I pronounced this correctly, Weeblet. Weeblet. That might be a little bit too slow. Does it even disrupt land creatures?
So the problem is a lot of the removal spells in the Mono Black Control deck are sorcery speed, and sorcery speed removals just don't get there.
Cannot get there.
They're never going to be able to kill a man land that's activated on the turn that it wins.
Very glad to see 2 copies of Bottle Gnomes in the sideboard of Trig Monson. This is not the matchup for it, but Bottle Gnomes was a staple back in the days of Tempest Era Standard.
Yeah, it was
a lot of aggressive decks.
It was a staple in Extended for a while, back when damage used to go on the stack. It was very powerful versus the burn deck, especially because a lot of the burn decks were playing Ball Lightning and Spark Elemental and Hellspark Elemental.
And that was back when damage on the stack still worked a certain way that allowed it to effectively trade with a Ball Lightning without any net damage to the
Well, it traded with 2 Ball Lightnings is what happened, because you would block damage on the stack, you'd sack it to gain life, and then you would prevent the 3 damage that the Spark Elemental would do and then gain 3 life. It would counter a Ball Lightning.
Yeah.
That's what you said, right?
Have you heard of Dancing Gnomes? I think it was a Tempest Era deck that incorporated Corpse Dance to with buyback to recur the...
Oh man, and just keep gaining life.
Bottle Gnomes. It was an interesting name for a deck, but I like discussing it. Okay, so Trig leads with a tapped Cycle Land and a Swamp. No plays for the first 2 turns. This might be concerning.
Aleko Cantrip, which is always the turn 1 play of choice for these combo decks. Just look at some cards, decide if that's what you want or what you need.
Yeah.
We're going to see another Ponder get fired off here. Lecco's going to take a quick look at the top 3 cards of his library, see where they're going, finds a bounce land, probably going to be dropping that this turn.
Pauper has a reputation of not being a particularly powerful format, but that's wrong in a lot of ways. The cantrip suite available in this format is just ridiculous for the blue decks.
I think the power level has been turned down significantly in this format, but the synergy of the cards is very, very high, and so you can generate a lot of potential power from the decks by playing these heavily synergy-based decks, such as the Elves deck with Timberwatch Elf that just 30 somebody out of nowhere. Like we saw, somebody got to untap a Quirion or a Timberwatch Elf twice in the same turn with 2 Quirion Rangers, and so that was like almost lethal just with the activation, as long as it's on a creature that connects.
That must feel pretty good.
Freed from the Real is a draw for a Lecco. Off that ponder, he has not played a land yet this turn. Going to play a Thornwood Falls, gain a life. That is the gain life from Khans of Tarkir.